Pregnancy centers are nonprofit organizations on the front lines of helping women and men make informed decisions about their unplanned, unexpected, or unexpectedly complicated pregnancies. There are about 2,500 pregnancy centers in North America providing emotional, spiritual, material, and medical support to hundreds of thousands of people every year. However, there are at least two different philosophies about the most effective way to do this life-affirming work. Let's look at the two most prominent approaches to see how different they are and why it matters. Let's call one philosophy the emergency room philosophy. In the last few years, this approach has been promoted by some as the new and better way forward in pregnancy center work. An emergency room is a place that provides immediate treatment for acute illnesses and trauma. An emergency room does triage, the sorting of and allocation of treatment to patients according to a system of priorities designed to maximize the number of survivors. Let's call the second approach the safe room approach. A safe room is a room that is set up to be safe from intrusion and is equipped with resources needed to direct security operations. People go to a safe room to give themselves time to think about the best way to address the critical situation taking place outside. So you have an emergency room on one side and a safe room on the other. But why does this distinction matter in pregnancy center work? At CareNet, we take the safe room approach. And here's why. First, emergency rooms are hectic places where crises are played out, often in graphic ways. But over the last several years, the pregnancy center movement has moved away from the word crisis. We found that our clients did not relate to the word crisis, so why make them feel as though they should? This is exactly why the term crisis pregnancy center has fallen out of favor. But an emergency room approach takes us backwards to a time when we thought about our clients' situations as crises. Second, emergency room doctors and nurses are trained to quickly deal with the immediate medical problem, but are less focused on the long-term cause. They fix a broken bone, stabilize a heart, or sew up a gash, but given the setting, they are less likely to address why the patient got into their situation and how they can avoid it in the future. And they don't provide follow-up care. And this leads to the third point. ER doctors and nurses know there are repeat customers who visit the ER a lot, like the guy who is always injuring himself with power tools while he works on his house. ER workers expect to see the same person over and over again. Now, let's look at the safe room approach. The safe room approach moves us away from the crisis paradigm. People don't make good decisions when they feel as though they are in a crisis. Therefore, our job must be to provide the safe room where they can get into the eye of the storm and reflect on the best way forward, the way to head back into the storm feeling empowered and equipped. In a safe room, we can take the time to not just address symptoms, but long-term solutions, to talk to the client about ways to leave the safe room empowered and full of hope for the future. And this leads to the most important distinction of all: the difference between transactional work and transformational work. Emergency rooms are transactional. Fix a patient and quickly move on to the next. A safe room is transformational, a place to work through complex issues over time to ensure the client is transformed in their heart and mind so they never have to return again as a client. A place to talk about things like family, marriage, motherhood, fatherhood, and adoption. The way CareNet does this transformational work is through the gospel of Jesus Christ. But the view in the emergency room is more likely to be that there is no time to present the gospel. That is why proponents of the emergency room philosophy may say that sharing the gospel is optional at best or a distraction at worst. But in our safe rooms, CareNet pregnancy centers know the only way to produce true and lasting transformation in our clients is to share with them the good news and the abundant life that Christ promises. We don't want our clients coming back to be served, but to serve others. How has this safe room approach worked for CareNet clients? In the last 3 years, our more than 1,100 affiliated pregnancy centers have provided over $168 million in free medical, educational, social, and material support to nearly 1 million new clients. In the last 9 years, CareNet affiliates have provided our 948,000 free ultrasounds and more than 2.5 million free pregnancy tests. More than 1 million people have received parenting support and education. More than 1.5 million people have received material resources, and more than 1.4 million people have heard the gospel of Jesus Christ. The result of this service, since 2008, we have saved over 603,000 unborn lives from abortion. So the next time someone tells you that a pregnancy center is like an emergency room, you'll know what to say.